Rich people and politicians aren't the group in charge of the capitalist world today. It's a hidden group of elites with a specific worldview based on Aristotle's philosophy. While there are still humanists, people who value creativity, reason, and human potential, most of them lack the necessary knowledge to challenge this powerful group. The real power behind the global elites, known as the Parisian model, comes from the British and Dutch royal families. When we talk about the elites, what we're really talking about is a system of control that has gathered strength under the leadership of Britain's royal institutions. Welcome back to Decoded. In this episode, we're digging back into secrets known only to the inner elites. This section, titled Why the Aristotelians Are Enemies of Mankind, starts by saying one of the biggest lies people still believe today is that Britain is a true democracy with a constitutional government. In reality, Britain has two governments. The first, a public-facing parliament, which mostly exists to make people feel like they have a say. The second, and more powerful one, is the monarchy, quietly holding its real power. From here on in, if I just read it as it was written, it would get pretty confusing, especially if you don't really know much about this period of history. So I've kept the brief overview of how the Dutch took control of the British monarchy, but I've simplified it and added some context so it makes more sense. It's time to hop in the Wayback Machine and head to the 1600s. In 1660, a group of corrupt Presbyterian leaders played a key role in taking down the British Commonwealth and restoring the monarchy. Working in cahoots with the Dutch royals and their financial backers in Amsterdam, they helped put the House of Stuart back on the British throne. But it didn't go to plan. The Stuarts turned out to be corrupt and self-serving, more interested in money and cutting deals with foreign powers like France than being loyal to the people who put them back on the throne. Things really started to spiral out of control under King James II. Not only was he cozying up to France, but he was also a Catholic, which didn't sit well with the Protestant England. On top of all that, he started flirting with the ideas from the old anti-monarchy movement, making him a threat to both the elites and foreign interests. So before things got out of control, the Dutch stepped in 1688. William of Orange, a Dutch prince, invaded England in what's now called the Glorious Revolution. King James II was out and William the Orange was in, making the British Crown a House of Orange-controlled asset. This resulted in a new power structure that reshaped the empire. By the late 1600s, the House of Orange was no longer the principal dynasty it had been under William the Silent. William had supported Dutch Neoplatonic humanism, a philosophy rooted in reason, morality, and the belief that society could be improved through truth and ethics. That tradition lived on for a while through leaders like Johann de Witt, who was close to the philosopher Spinoza. But as war broke out between France and Holland, a more corrupt version of the House of Orange seized the moment. They used the chaos to push de Witt out and his humanist movement, replacing it with a more authoritarian banking-aligned regime.
Johann de Witt was a powerful Dutch mathematician and statesman who led the Dutch Republic during its golden age, when trade, ships, and colonies made the Netherlands a global powerhouse. As Grand Pensionary, he ruled with his uncle and championed a republic free from royal control, directly opposing the House of Orange. But in 1672, the so-called Ramjar or disaster year, The Republic was attacked by England, France, and German allies. In the chaos, the people turned on De Witt and his brother, blaming them for the crisis. They were lynched in The Hague, and partially eaten by an angry mob. No one was ever punished. Some say William of Orange had a hand in it.
By this time, the House of Orange had aligned itself through marriage with the Black Guelph House of Hanover, another elite bloodline with deep financial and imperial interests. Together, they backed a plan to pacify the rising Republican sentiment among the British population. Their solution? A clever piece of political theatre called constitutional monarchy. Instead of ruling by brute force, they ruled through institutions. The people were sold the illusion of British liberalism, with a mostly powerless parliament designed to distract and entertain. A system built to look free, but functioned like a monarchy in disguise. Today, the British monarchy is often portrayed as harmless and ceremonial. A charming institution that runs on a modest household budget and shows up for public events. The beauty of this illusion is that most people today believe the royal family is there to provide gossip for the women's magazines. A kind of royal mascot, if you will. In reality, the British monarchy holds special powers and privileges that are entirely outside the control of Parliament. They are protected from investigation by laws like lèse majesté, which forbids insulting the monarchy, which I may have just done with my terrible French. There is also the Official Secrets Act, which keeps its actions hidden from public scrutiny. The monarchy also holds direct financial power through deep ties to the Bank of England and elite private banking families. It sits at the heart of one of the most powerful financial networks in the world, quietly shaping markets while appearing politically neutral. On top of all that, the monarchy holds real authority over the intelligence agencies and parts of the military, both formally and behind the scenes. While the public's attention is focused on whichever king or queen is wearing the crown, it misses the bigger picture. The British monarchy isn't just a person. It's a central hub, a symbol, an organising force for a much larger web of oligarchical families. These families include elites from Britain, the Commonwealth, and Europe, bound together by shared interest and generational power. With their loyal political allies, they have gathered behind the facade of institutions to legitimise control. This system includes a global network built over centuries, making them one of the most powerful ruling structures in the world. According to the author Lyndon LaRouche, it's the most efficient and dangerous force of evil in existence. The neo-Aristotelian elites are the hidden ruling class, passing their secret knowledge down from generation to generation. These families teach their children a particular way of seeing the world and making decisions through unspoken habits, values, and expectations. Some of these families have carefully preserved memories and traditions going back as far as Charlemagne, but more commonly, their roots stretch back 4 to 8 centuries.
Charlemagne, also known as Charles the Great, was a Frankish king who became the first Holy Roman Emperor in 800 AD. He united much of Western Europe under Christian rule after the fall of the Roman Empire, laying the groundwork for medieval Europe. But Charlemagne wasn't just a conqueror, he was a political tool. His empire was backed by the Catholic Church, blending military force with religious authority. This alliance between church and crown became a model for future European control systems. Monarchy on top, religion as justification, and obedience down the chain.
They maintain formal family trees and portraits as physical reminders of their lineage and legacy. Their worldview is drilled into them as children through behavioural training that instills the mindset of the ruling class. Then these elite attitudes and worldviews are refined through formal education at universities like Oxford, Cambridge and Sussex. These schools help turn the tradition of the ruling class into more formal intellectual worldviews. The London School of Economics, meanwhile, mainly serves to recruit foreign students into British intelligence circles. But before the students reach university, they are often prepared by elite public schools, which act as feeders into these institutions. This education system becomes the training ground and the model for how young members of the oligarchy around the world are raised and taught to think. Policies and strategies solidify this elite world view. Oxford, Cambridge and Sussex have special departments and programs that play a crucial role in this process. These institutions have strong ties to British intelligence, like MI6, MI5 and the Tavistock Institute. British intelligence isn't just based in the UK. It has influence all across the world. It operates branches of the International Institute for Strategic Studies in various countries, including the US. Other organisations include the Council on Foreign Relations, the Aspen Institute, and the Trilateral Commission. According to LaRouche, the Tavistock Institute in London isn't just a research centre. It's a global hub for psychological operations. He claims Tavistock plays a key role in controlling the World Federation for Mental Health, which is connected to the United Nations, allowing it to shape mental health policy from behind the scenes. Tavistock is also said to have helped create and continues to influence the Rand Corporation, one of the most powerful think tanks tied to US military strategy and foreign policy. Beyond that, LaRouche accuses Tavistock of working to undermine American labour movements, such as the United Mine Workers Union, and of being linked to international terrorist networks across multiple countries. In his view, Tavistock isn't a neutral institution. It's a psychological warfare centre embedded in mental health, military planning, political subversion, and global control. It's important to note that many people in high-ranking positions in the United States and other countries are not just friendly to British interests, but are actually serving as agents of influence for British intelligence. LaRouche claims that the Watergate scandal, which brought down President Nixon, was actually a carefully planned deception. At this point, you might be thinking, no shit, we all know that now. I just want to remind you that this was written in 1978 and that I'm not sure how much of this idea of Watergate being an inside job was mainstream. He writes it was orchestrated both from within the White House by Kissinger and General Alexander Haig, and from outside the White House by the Institute for Policy Studies and parts of the media. He finishes off this section by saying, other nations are deeply infiltrated by British intelligence too. What I find really interesting is this week we saw a modern day version of what LaRouche was writing about here. A key appendix from the 2023 Durham report was released, and it contained explosive claims about the Russian collusion hoax. According to newly declassified material, the Clinton campaign may have deliberately manufactured the Trump-Russia collusion narrative as a disinformation strategy to distract the public from Hillary's own email scandal. Now, I'm not going to rehash the entire Russiagate saga. That's a whole episode on its own. But I will pull a couple of key threads from this political spider web, starting with the fact that Clinton's campaign allegedly bankrolled and engineered this operation. From hiring Fusion GPS, a private research and intelligence firm that specializes in high-stake political investigations, to commissioning the Steele dossier, to quietly feeding intelligence through media proxies and FBI-linked tech firms like CrowdStrike. Then you have Joseph Misford, a shadowy academic with deep ties to Western intelligence, who met with George Papadopoulos, a foreign policy advisor on Trump's campaign in London in 2016, to let him know that Russia had dirt on Hillary in the form of emails. If that's not British enough for you, you have Papadopoulos later repeating the claims to Alexander Downer, Australia's then High Commissioner to the UK, during a meeting at a London bar. Downer, rather than dismissing it as drunken chatter, passed the information on through diplomatic channels to the US Embassy in, you guessed it, London, which eventually triggered the FBI's Crossfire Hurricane investigation into Trump's campaign. Nowhere does the Durham report explicitly name British intelligence as a player in this saga. But come on, coincidence? Maybe. Sus? Definitely. But if you ask me, this has the elite's fingerprints all over it. And the thing is, they have lied and deceived us so many times that we don't know what to believe anymore. So when stuff like this happens, we want the smoking gun, the confession, the truth, but that's not how this game works. This wasn't a scandal. It was a multi-agency game of Chinese whispers, played across embassies and in intelligence briefs. Intel was passed from official to official, diluted by time and distorted by whiskey. By the time it reaches the public, it's a sanitized report with redacted lines and vague statements. These are the rules of the game. The elites know how the game is played, so they know the truth. Us, on the other hand, we end up busy running around in circles searching for the illusion of truth. They say the devil is in the details, but which details? The elites know that we will be distracted by the he said, she said, amusing ourselves with the fantasy of being a human lie detector, looking for the gotcha moment in the story. But as LaRouche warned, we've been conditioned to think that way. Conditioned by the illusion, women's magazines and gossip columns. Look over here, Harry and Meghan are splitting up for the 600th time. Meanwhile, William's over here working behind the scenes to help suppress free speech in Britain. The real truth, the real devil in the details, is knowing the rules of the game. And I think that's what LaRouche wanted us to know by writing this document. He wanted us to know that the secrets known to the inner elites is the rules of the game, passed down from generation to generation, then handed to the chosen few on the outside through institutions like Oxford, Cambridge and Sussex. If you don't know the rules, you can't play the game. Until next time, may the truth be with you.